One, two, one, two. How are we sounding? Can you hear us? Let us know. We're back. It's a Wednesday night. It's midweek. Rise Above. The number one show in the crater. It's the Pundit Apocalypse. Myself, Double LMC, and I will be welcoming Inner Guardians. Here he is. Salutations, Master Lee.
Salutations. Vegetations.
Vegetations.
And, hold on. And sheep farmations.
Sheep Fire Nations. I love it. Awesome. So here we are again, midweek chat. Lots are going on. It's going to be a short one this week. I'll do 30 minutes. Got a wicked show coming up on Friday, which will be the greatest apocalypse ever, part 2. I hope everyone enjoyed Friday's show.
You better set the timer because I've been podcasting all day. I've done quite a few this week, and if you're not careful, they can go on for about 6 hours.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with a stopwatch.
Actually.
I've been sitting there with a stopwatch, and I'm trying to have a maximum of 2 hours and an average of 1 hour, 0.5.
Yeah. Sometimes, it's better to snip it off and keep it nice and compact, but sometimes not. As we find out every Friday. Gosh, I already forgot what I was going to start off by saying because I don't write any notes for Wednesday. Everything Exempts went really well. We did the festival on Saturday, with the t-shirts.
Yeah.
Everyone in that arena knows about the Soviet Union now. I told them all about it. Yeah, and I told them exactly how to become Everything Exempt. And we are having some new t-shirts commissioned with the Rising Sun logo built into Everything Exempt. It's got some nice little esoteric hashtags built into it as well, with some positive sigil magic. There's going to be 20 of those up for grabs on Friday. What did you want to bring to it? Go on.
You was dishing out plenty of e-pills, but not the sort that you think it's exemption pills. Yeah,
exemption pills. Nice little plopping out little truth nuggets here and there.
I saw some photos, but I'd really like to see some videos. Have you got any footage?
I do have some videos. I'm going to put something together. I tried to do all of my anti-COVID lyrics at least 3 times just to get them in there. I know we've got one of them where I'm talking about opposing Soviet forces, Bill Gates driving 33 Porsches, etc., like on stage, and everyone go, yeah. I've seen that clip. That's a good one. But yeah, there was no problem. We turned up. We went to the Soviet accreditation tent, and I just showed my little email saying Everything Exempt, and that's it.
Was there any form of censorship?
Oh, of what I was saying?
Yeah.
I'd like to see them try. I had the microphone.
You didn't have somebody on the like a sound tech.
There was a sound technician, but he was too busy trying to make sure the speakers weren't blowing up and stuff like that. The owner of the festival came and paid me compliments at the end of the night. I don't know. I'm going to assume he heard what I said. But I made it very clear that you don't need a passport or a test to rave. You don't need a lateral flow. Don't be collateral in their experiment, bro. You know what I mean? Don't be.
Well, look, let's be realistic about this, right? If you're a promoter and you have the option of either passport only or passport only plus exemptions, what would you choose?
I think we both know the answer to the question. It's like, do I want to restrict some of my footfall or not? The promoter thinks about one thing, the bottom line.
Unless they're being paid. Like some form of, what do you call it?
Well, although this festival, I don't want to name any names, they have big sponsors, the biggest sponsors you can imagine in like sports and alcohol. But this festival is owned by one guy. As
long as the sponsorship's not something like, I don't know, Microsoft or Windows 33.
Microsoft Windows 33. Right, before I hand it over to you, I can't. Do you know what I can't get out of my head? Divok 91. Can't stop thinking about it. Do you remember this was brought up last week?
Yeah.
Divok and COVID.
Yeah.
I cannot. And I've just talked about this on Shelley Tasker's show. I've just come off her radio show, and I was talking about this. Everyone knows this theme that this illness only really applies to people that believe in it. Otherwise, if you get ill and you don't have the Divok test, then you just got ill. And it seems to be people that believe in it than all the people that died. We all know this thing.
Yeah.
Well, how many times do you reckon the Divot word was said in 2020 before Bill Shakespeare had Cov or Vok entry on December 3rd? How many times collectively do you think that incantation might have been made? If you look at every piece of media, every printed word, every poster with it on, every time it was said on the news, on every different television set. Think about how many times 91
Yep.
Divots was said. We would be talking about billions of times.
Yeah. 33 billion at least.
33 billion to the power of 33 times. Now, I don't know about you, Inner Guardians, but hey, from what I know about the dark occult, that would be a very powerful way to summon some dark energy or some Divok energy. When everyone's walking around going 91 Divots all day, and then you sort of, I don't know. It really, I can't stop thinking about it. It really rings true with me.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is something that I'm trying to counter. Now, I'm not going to be able to go into it too much tonight. Maybe on Friday I can go a bit deeper into stuff. But for those who follow the Inner Guardians, you've noticed that I've been bringing forward some of the secrets of the devil. Now,
Yes.
I actually got accused of being a Satanist. Now, the easiest way to occult the truth is to put a word like the devil, Satan, Beelzebub to the title.
Lucifer.
It throws everybody off. But all I'm doing is occulting stuff. Now, secrets of the devil, you have to know thy enemy. So you could change that word to denying. So secrets of the denying force, secrets of denying. Yeah. So for those who are concerned that maybe some of the stuff is satanic, what I'm actually doing, I'm actually exposing or de-occulting the denying force.
Yeah.
Because you have to know thy enemy.
Yeah.
To stand half a chance in a fight. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I haven't stopped talking about this to my other half, and she said, "Well, you're walking around saying Divok 91 all day." I said, "Yeah, but what I'm doing, I'm not saying it inverted. I'm not saying the hex. I'm pointing out the Divok. I'm exposing the Divok. I know what it is. Mm-hmm. So if I say I've got 91 problems, but a Divok ain't one, right?
Yeah.
If I'm cracking jokes about this and exposing it, it's not the same as being part of the hex. So yeah, now there's a new reason why we don't say the C word. It's not just to get around Al Gore. It's also to stop summoning the Divok.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few scraps in the last few years actually, but particularly in the last week, with some of the so-called truth movement, or the I don't know, the love and light brigade.
Right,
because
okay.
Well, they don't like it that I acknowledge the presence of a denying force. Now, if you only, I mean, it's nice if you want to just focus on love and light, that's fine. But if you don't ever factor in that there is a denying force at play in existence, then you're being a bit naive.
Sure.
And remember, part of the secret of the devil is that the devil doesn't exist, or the denying force doesn't exist. So you only got part of a triad. Well, you haven't got a triad. You're just polarized for the most part.
Sure.
And you'll always be seduced or tricked by the devil if you don't know that the devil is knocking on the door.
The greatest trick that the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Not only that, but it is potentially in charge. There's a big difference.
Potentially, this is his world.
Yeah, well, because what we're doing, if you look at the triad, you could fundamentally say that we're on the angle of the denying force. So the denying force is sort of ramped up its tactics and whatever. So it has to be acknowledged. Now, if you don't acknowledge it, you're just being naive. So I've had a bit of a fight with the Love and Light Brigade.
Yeah, because what we basically talk about here is not only acknowledging, exposing and pointing towards the denying force, it's actually absorbing some of its energy and trying to, well, I talk about recatalyzing it, you talk about riding off the friction. We're talking about the same thing. And this is what I just talked about on Shelley Tasker's show. Whether her viewers were ready for it or not. Because I was saying, she was saying, are we going to see you at protests? And I was saying, listen, I'll go and say something on a platform if it's the right time for something to be said. but I'm not going to go up and start opposing the denying force and try and work against it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to work with it, but I'm going to use its force to help expose what's going on. I'm not going to just be constantly providing the opposer to the opposer.
Well, that's the big secret. It's understanding that there is a triad, and that the denying force can actually be used as the catalyst. If you take that line away, or that angle away, you potentially you can't really do anything, because
You're back on the horizontal line again.
Yeah, your triad collapses.
Yeah, and what was it you said to me earlier on? You said at the point where the triad meets, where the two lines intersect, that's where the denying force can actually turn the corner and convert into a different force.
Yeah, I believe that we're going to start to see this take place. I keep going on about September. I think September is a critical point of the changing of the angle. So the denying force will actually become the affirming force for not for everybody, but for those that have a triad. For those that don't understand or don't care of the triad, then potentially they'll just stay on the denying force, or the line of the denying force. The triad becomes longer before they hit an angle or angel of change.
So what we're actually talking about is sort of like, for everyone, there's like a triad within a triad, and the intersecting point is different for different people. They will have to go further along the horizontal line before they find the intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is what I said to Shelley. I said, what more could if I went to a fest? I keep mixing the word festival with protest. That's not good, is it? I said, if I went to a protest, what more could I say that hasn't already been said by myself or other people? Until people can ignite the third force and actually sort of start to recatalyze this energy, I'm not going to go anywhere. No. Because you can fight, but you fight against it at the moment, and all you're going to do is provide the precursor for the denying force to re-strengthen itself in some cases.
Exactly, yeah. And part of understanding the denying force is that you have to understand the occulted language, or de-occult the language, or even understand the language that is your first language. For the most part, we have no idea of the language that we actually speak. And speaking words is a major part of manifestation, because it's part of the spirit. Spirit is life. We breathe, and when you talk, it's a form of breathing out into the realm, or ether, or whatever, plasma, or whatever you want to describe it as. Part of oh, by the way, I did mention that I've literally got a book worth of stuff that I've put together over the years, and it's probably going to be called Secrets of the Devil. I'm actually looking at putting something together, but
awesome.
I'm very apprehensive about turning it into a book, because then the word becomes like a form, and then it can be corrupted. If you look at ancient traditions, it was always the spoken word that had the power, and this is something that the denying force throughout history has gone out of their way to destroy. And so what's taking place right now, if you look throughout recent history, you would see that they've targeted the indigenous people to take away, for the most part, their ability to communicate.
Yeah, the oral traditions that are passed on from father to son.
Yeah,
and funny enough, the Talmud, right? They reckon the Talmud, it was never written down until almost 1,000 years after the times and when it was conceptualized, because it was always held within the priest class orally.
Yeah, and this is why there's such a thing as censorship, because they don't want people to communicate using the spoken word, because you can actually transmit. And there's a lot of occult groups that will refuse to teach via the book. They teach via the spoken word, from teacher to student. And there's a reason for that. It's to do with the transmission of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Yeah, when you read it, it can be hijacked, and also it can be edited.
Also, from my point of view, when you take the spoken word and you actually write it down, you're actually slowing down the vibration, and the density completely changes. Because at the end of the day, a sound is a much higher vibration than the piece of paper. And the piece of paper, it's almost like you put a physical medium in the way that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at ancient traditions, even say Buddhism or Hinduism, there's a big emphasis on mantras because the spoken word actually creates the vibration. And remember, everything is vibration, resonance, frequency.
Yeah. And that's
So the easiest way to harmonize with other sentient beings is through the spoken word. So, I mean, you will know this probably better than myself, being like how do you describe yourself? Like a lyrical artist or
I actually
communicator?
describe my art as MDMA, multidisciplinary microphone artistry. Check it. Now I'm a vocalist.
Yeah, but your spoken word can completely alter and change the frequency of your audience or the observers of your work, your craft. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's sort of where I link it in with shamanism as well,
Yeah.
because that's what the shaman does when he guides you through the trip, through the ethereal experience, the vibration of his mantras and his chants and his incantations is what keeps you on the right path. And
Yeah.
like I say, I've always tried to use that ethos in my writing, and in my performance style as well. For anyone that sees me on stage, you know, some people say, "Oh, you act like you're possessed." I get told that a lot, and in a way, I do feel like that sometimes. Like there is,
Yeah, well, it'd be a channeling of forces. It's a better way to describe it than possession. Possession's got too many negative connotations, I think. Which, once again, remember, language has been hijacked for the most part
yeah,
throughout history. Even, you know, if you say the word devil, they're completely that's totally been hijacked. You tend to see that I avoid such words as things like God. I prefer to use the word the absolute or the source, or even, well, not necessarily creation, but you know, creation comes from the absolute or the source. For what we know, right? It's very difficult to go direct to the source, but we can connect with creation, which is what the sort of recent, I say recent in terms of the whole of history, the indigenous people, they were masters of that. You know, they were very animistic, and they were pantheists, which, you know, which means everything contains the spirit of creation with a
yeah.
capital C. So if you
Everything
look at,
is everything.
yeah, if you look at the traditional African religions, they have a thing called orishas. The Central Americans had zemis. The Japanese or the Asians had kamis. It's the same thing. It just means that creation contains spirits, and this is, in my opinion, and from my research and research of many others, this is what we're actually witnessing now, is the taking away of creation and it being replaced or usurped with a synthetic simulation. Something I did want to mention that is, I think it's vital to having any chance of understanding what's taking place right now, is if we look at what's taking place with regards to the Britney Spears and various other things. It's all to do with gene editing. Okay, now most people don't realize that when they do any of this research or experiments and stuff, they're actually using computer modeling to actually to build this. If you look at everything that took place in the beginning of 2020, it was all based on computer projections and modeling. So if you think about it, right, carefully, what we're going through right now is all based on what the computers are saying.
Yeah.
So does that indicate that there's an artificial intelligence leading this situation? And if it is, why?
Ooh.
And where's it coming from? And are these characters just conduits or agents of the artificial intelligence that is trying to hijack or take over natural creation?
Do you know what Thomas Sheridan said in one of his posts this week? He
No.
postulated that the 91 Divok could actually be some sort of some sun demon, sun god, like the gods that the Aztecs and Mayans would sacrifice their children to. Now think
Yeah.
about corona, the
Yeah.
crown,
Yeah.
the coronal mass ejection. So there is links. There are solar links to this Divok.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Oh, it's very interesting. I mean, this is something I'm going to mention on Friday. I won't bring it up now, but with regards to solar storms and various other things that are being predicted through a lot of the occult groups, and it's going to start, I believe, at the beginning of 2022.
Yeah,
And
well, those are
it's not
coronal
what we
mass
think.
ejections, aren't they? That's what those solar storms are caused by.
Yeah, and it's not what everybody's thinking, because the mainstream narrative is actually acting as a distraction from what is taking place. So they're talking about climate change and all of that stuff, which is potentially, there is some truth in that, but like most things, it's used as a distraction.
Well, I don't think
And
anyone would disagree that the climate is changing.
yeah,
You
and I
know?
don't know if you saw in the private group, I did allude to this, that all of this could be those in control panicking because of what's to come with
Yeah,
regard to things that are influences.
out of their control.
Exactly, yeah. So they're literally panicking because potentially this is a window within creation for change, a
This is
power
exactly what
change.
I said in my speech last year when I said that this could be a massive cover story for something that they can't stop, a last-ditch attempt to try and control our genetics, to put us in a digital prison, however you want to talk about it,
Yeah,
before their grip on us is loosened.
yeah. The other thing that you'll hear me speak about recently on, or I've done video or a video on the Inner Guardians. I mean, I've actually got a lot more information which I just haven't published. I try to be very careful about not publishing too much. I think I've said this to you before. As an example, I only really speak of around about 5% of what I know. My teachers only tell me of 5% of what they know. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff out there that we just don't know, and there's a reason for that. We can't. If we was to know everything, it would probably kill us. I mean, that has been spoken of many times. That if you do receive too much understanding of what is really happening, and the terror or the potential terror of the situation, you would either kill yourself or your own psyche would implode.
it's a lot. It's a lot to take for the. It's not for the faint-hearted. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So going back to the what you were saying earlier about how many times certain words have been spoken. We could be looking at billions. That's a form of sigil magic. And remember, sigils doesn't necessarily mean something that you look at. It could also be language.
Yeah.
So for those who haven't seen any of my sigil videos, where I'm giving the gist. There's not really any tuition, but I'm giving people the gist to have a chance of understanding by using their own mentation or free will to make the effort. Because at the end of the day, you can't just give. Even creation doesn't give this knowledge for free. You have
Nothing's
to,
comes for free in this realm, Masterly.
yeah, and it's not financial. It's more to do with making the effort, setting the aim and the intention. Because in some certain ways, this realm, which is an interval realm, and it's the realm of free will and choice, it provides plenty of opportunities for humanity to have to assert themselves. And I would even suggest that what we're going through right now is a complete opportunity to make wise choices with aim, intent, free will.
Yeah. A
And then there's
massive opportunity.
yeah, and the reason for that is because if we are going to enter any form of simulation or synthetic universe, if for whatever reason you find yourself in it, and it could be that we are going to go in it, it could be a part of the evolution or of civilization. For those who've maintained their free will and choice, they will still be able to operate within the synthetic universe, even if it means being able to escape from it. Now, if you enter it and you don't have any free will, and we see plenty of those people every day,
Yep.
they've got no chance of escaping. So,
They might not even
as
know
an
they're in it.
example, if you take the words, exactly, yeah, if you take the words like choice, aim, intent, free will, you can't see those things, can you?
Nope.
They're not tangible. They're intangible, but they're very important. We actually wouldn't really exist without those. So if you look at the way this realm, or the narrative that controls this realm at the moment, there's emphasis on giving up those things. And why and who are we giving them up to? We're literally being, or it's being suggested or coerced or whatever, that we give up those gifts of creation to be told what to do by some form of control or controlling mechanism.
Some artificial divok. 91 artificial sun divoks. Look what Sheep Farm Studios has said. Have you seen the Planned Parenthood HQ building and how it looks like an Aztec sacrifice pyramid? I'm definitely going to be Googling that as soon as the chat's finished. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, I've not seen it, but I soon will.
Yeah. I'm going to talk more about this Divok thing on Friday because I've got a few deeper elucidations into some companies that are using this name. I've got and Sanchez UK, big up Sanchez UK, who's tuned in. He made me a little slideshow and how it actually links in with Lord Schwab. Funnily enough. So yeah, I've got a little presentation from him on Friday because we're going to do the Greatest Apocalypse Ever Part 2 because I didn't even get halfway through the slideshow last week. Got some really good stuff in there, and there's obviously a load more to go in from this week from all the other stuff that's happened. Yeah, busy times. Very busy.
Part of this apocalypse, as we know, it's a revelation or the dropping of the veil. Don't miss this opportunity because it's once in a lifetime, once in thousands of years potentially.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. This could be like a once in 100 lifetimes, 1,000 lifetimes to have this chance to have so much catalyst put right in front of you.
Yeah, and I think this is, it's easy to think or feel that those that are in control are in control. I don't see it that way. I see that they're almost panicking because they are also, or they are potentially victims of creation, and I'm talking like the larger cosmic aspect. There's not much point in looking at too close to the absolute. We need to look at what's in front of us, and I would say maybe planetary is probably the furthest that we can go in terms of observation.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more beyond that. I would suggest that those in control, quote unquote, are actually in panic mode, and part of their panicking is that they're just rushing out all these egregores or sigil magic, and these magi are just agents of panic.
Agents of chaos, organised chaos, or even unorganised chaos, as it might seem at the moment. Yeah, because the plan, I mean, the more I think about it, if they want to really make the dream happen, they're being counterproductive right now.
Yeah.
Well, for anyone that's not completely divoked, anyone that hasn't already divoked themselves for 18 months, just sat there and divok 921, for anyone that's paying attention, everything that's happening right now is like you say, maybe we are at the curve where the denying force becomes the affirming force, where what was previously against us now actually works in our favour.
Well, the other thing to factor in, right? These people behind it are deep, dark occultists and magi, and they're using things like sigils and egregores, which are just it's the occult concept of representing a distinct non-physical entity. So they're creating entities on a mass scale. The problem is, right, and anybody that has studied this or been initiated into this will understand that once you create them, if you're not careful, they can turn against you. So you've got to be very, very careful when you're dabbling in this stuff, because they can actually turn against you. And I think that's just the triad turning a corner. Also, you have to keep feeding them. I mean, even if you look at the words egregore, and then you look at the word egregious, ego, they're all connected. So as an example, most people get confused with the word ego because people assume that they think it's a bad thing. So the love and light brigade will lead you to believe that the ego is bad. All the ego is a protective mechanism for your essence. Now, if you remove the ego, then potentially your essence will just be harvested and raped or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the most part, if you're not careful, when you do drop your ego in the wrong sense, because you've got the right use of ego, you've also got the incorrect use of ego, you're going to leave yourself wide open. Now, if we were living in a world of love and light, then yeah, you wouldn't need an ego. But unfortunately, we're not in a utopia. So the ego is actually a protective mechanism. And I put this into the category of non-physical personal protection.
It's a guard dog.
Yeah.
As long as your ego hasn't been sort of like fashioned into an attack dog, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah. Now, what the egregore that they've created is designed to do is to get the majority of the population to give up their ego and hand it over to the egregore, so that it's actually used as part of. And this is what they're doing.
Divic 91 is an egregore, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
That's literally what it is. Because as far as I know, a Dybbuk or a Dybbuk, it's not like a demon, as in like an ancient disembodied soul. It could actually be something that's like synthetically created and implanted or brought about.
Yeah, and this is something else. I'll talk more about it on Friday. If you look at everything that's taking place, and I did mention it a bit earlier, about even with the gene editing and the computer modeling projections, what these agents of the design force, they're even telling us that all of this that's taking place right now is the consequences of what the computer says. Now, one of the reasons that they're doing that is that they can blame the computer. It almost frees them of karma.
Right. I see.
Even though they're pressing the buttons.
Yeah.
Now, what is controlling the people that are pressing the buttons with regards to this this entity, mass entity? Who's controlling the controllers?
Well, do you mean the entity once it's been unleashed? Because I mean, if it's an entity, can we assume that it acts of its own free will, or is it a program?
This is the thing, right? When you study sigil magic, you have to understand that every sigil that's created has to be programmed, and you have to be very, very careful when you do create them, because if you don't program them correctly, they can actually turn against you, or they can become corrupted. For everybody that's seen the architect scene in the Matrix, that's exactly what he's talking about. He's actually explaining everything that we're talking about right now, and that there can be corruptions within the program, and sometimes you do need an intentional corruption. I won't talk too much about it because maybe people haven't seen it. So unless you've seen it, you won't have a clue what I'm alluding to.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Matrix is if I say fully loaded, Matrix fully loaded. That's one of the in the series, isn't it? But yeah, it's literally fully loaded with this stuff.
Yeah,
and that clip that you shared on Facebook of it, where the guy's coming out of the little cocoon. I just watched that. God, it's been a long time since I've seen it. And it's like, God, yeah, that must be what some people felt like last year, and all this happened, and they actually fully de-occulted themselves. Yeah, I can't imagine what it must have been like for some people last year.
Yeah, and they talk about the Great Reset, and we know that there's been many resets, or I don't know, I think industrial revolutions are probably micro resets.
Looks like they could happen every 100 years, for all we know.
Yeah. Well, I think they're micro. I think we're approaching a major one, which potentially creates a simulation within a simulation. Even the Buddhists and the Hindus, they understand that there's some kind of veil, and that life isn't real. I mean, if you look at, or if you read or listen to anything that the Buddha spoke about, it's all about the delusion.
Yeah. The distort. Well, like Ra says in the law, he calls it the distortion. And the first distortion was the creation of the physical universe. That was the first ever distortion out of pure thought, out of pure creation. This is the physical universe itself is a distortion of the absolute. So wow, we're going deep there. Right, we're gonna nip it there. 133 people tuned in. I tried to do 33 minutes, but we ended up on 37. Any final thoughts before Friday in the Guardians?
Not really, no. But maybe I'll just say that reality is not as fixed as it may appear, especially if you tune into the mainstream media, and you do have the power, and the power is in your hands. So this is the golden opportunity, or probably the only opportunity in everybody's lifetime to seize this moment. And this is going to kind of sound a bit weird, but try and enjoy it.
I'm starting to really embrace this and fully enjoy the greatest apocalypse ever. Yeah, it's like we said earlier on, people can live for 1,000 lifetimes and they wouldn't see anything like this.
No.
Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there, and we'll see you guys at 9 o'clock on Friday. We've got Lucas Lyon, who I showed his video on Friday. Check him out on YouTube. He's going to be joining us. We're going to be returning to the greatest apocalypse ever, part 2. More memes, more slides, more Rise Above. See you guys on Friday. Rise above in the Guardians.
Rise above.